Hey, listeners, before we get to today's podcast, I just want to thank our sponsors who make this podcast possible. First off, we have Tiny and Sons Glass. Does your vehicle have cameras or driver's assist? If so, when your windshield is replaced, it will need to be recalibrated. What is recalibration? When your vehicle's windshield is replaced, the safety systems need to then be tested to ensure that they work with your new windshield. Some vehicles require static recalibration, and others require a dynamic recalibration. Not sure who to trust to take care of this recalibration for you? Well, just call Tiny and Sons Glass in Pembroke, Mass. They are experts in auto glass and registered company of the Auto Glass Safety Council. Plus, they make it easy. They will call your insurance company for you. Get your windshield replaced by their highly trained auto glass technicians and get your vehicle recalibrated so you can be back on the road. Tiny and Sons Glass, keeping you and your family safe. And our second sponsor today is Baxter Blue. Do you experience digital eye strain from too much blue light exposure from digital screens? Baxter Blue glasses are not your average frames. These blue light lenses filter 80% of the highest energy blue light, eliminating 99% of the glare. The past year, we've all been glued to our devices more than ever. And here at Inebri-art, we're making more content. We have some video content. We're doing a lot of audio stuff, live streaming, which all means I'm sitting in front of the computer. Pretty much any time I'm awake, I am in front of the computer, eyes glued to the screen. Our exposure to digital light has soared, and our eyes and our sleep are suffering as a result. Baxter Blue is also a force for good and provides a pair of reading glasses for someone in need for every pair sold. This is eyewear built for our digital age, and Baxter Blue is giving our listeners 10% off the next purchase of blue light, sleep, or kids glasses. Click on the link in our show notes for an exclusive discount. This is the sign you have been waiting for to invest in blue light glasses. We know you'll love your Baxters, and we know that you will feel the difference. So thanks again for our sponsors for sponsoring the show, and now let's jump right into the podcast. Welcome back, Inebri-ites. This is Andy of the Inebri-art podcast, and I'm just going to go on the record here and apologize to today's guest because I feel really bad because I was late because I wrote in my infinite wisdom I wrote down the wrong time. Dani Doucette, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much, Andy. I'm really happy to be here face to face with you. Thanks.
Yeah. So we get a ton of musicians on here, and we've talked about so many things, and we don't get a lot of musicians in your I mean, I hate putting like labels on music, but is calling it kind of pop, is that fair?
I would say it's fair because it's like popular kind of style of music, I guess you could say. I mean, well, that's what pop means, but I dance, good way to live, because definitely I love to like write songs that make people dance. So yeah.
So I always think, and the musicians I know tend to be like in typical like rock bands or jam bands, reggae bands, that kind of thing. So like I kind of understand like that process. They start playing out in kind of crappy bars and move their way up. Like how do you start a pop career? Like do you start off in clubs? Like how do I'm just curious how that even like starts.
Yeah, no, well, to be honest, it started in crappy bars too. Like, yeah, it's the same type of scene. Also, I mean, like you just kind of, you perform with, or like less of a setup. So like any good song can be translated with an acoustic guitar. So a lot of the times it was just me and my guitarist, and we would do my songs acoustic versions. So that's kind of how it started with my original music career. I've been in music forever, so like I've had all different types of experiences, like playing for big corporate things or for the bar next door. Literally, there's a bar in my area that I've performed at. So I've kind of done the whole gamut. So you just kind of like choose your setup to suit.
Now, so were you always kind of in the style, or do you start off more rock or country? Like,
Yeah.
are you true? I don't want to say are you true to it, because I feel like every musician can jump around to different styles, but do you have that kind of interest where you jump around to different styles and kind of challenge yourself?
Yeah, definitely. I grew up, my father was a rock musician, so I think I had like an affinity for rock music. Amanda Marshall, I don't know if you guys are familiar with that artist in the States, but she was like one of the first women that I saw who just like, and I was, oh my God, I wanted to model my voice after her. With her, the way that she just sang was amazing. So as you know, as I progressed through my artistry, I guess you could say, having a father with a rock background, I was drawn to that. But then I found a lot of the music that I was really enjoying was like R&B. So like Alicia Keys and those
Hmm.
artists. So, I think that like, well, especially to speak for myself, I love all styles of music. I haven't necessarily been super drawn to country music. I don't know why. It's just not really my, but sing everything, write everything. But pop music just seems to suit my personality, I guess you could say. I just really love to like write things that just are like fun and like have
Yeah,
like, yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like,
sure.
not to say rock music isn't fun, but like instead of throwing yourself into a mosh pit, I'd rather you go dance under a disco ball. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's interesting. So, as I get older, I realize when I was a kid, it was very much like you listen to rap or you listen to heavy metal or you listen to country. It was very like segmented. And I feel like, the way the internet is now, it's very different. And it took me a long time to kind of come out of that. And I've found like I really enjoy Miley Cyrus and Lady Gaga.
Yeah,
And back in the day, I would have been like, I probably would
totally.
have listened to it, but not told anybody.
Well, it's funny that you say that because um, Lady Gaga, for instance, like when she came out with Poker Face, I really didn't like it at all. Like I didn't like it at all. And now when I hear it, I'm like, oh, it's got that nostalgia, I guess you could
Hmm.
say. But yeah, like I think that, and it's funny that you say that. I think that sometimes pop music needs to live with you for a while because, it like that little that's like that like and that the way it made me feel, and then you revisit it and you're like, oh yeah, that's a good feeling. Whereas like say you have like R&B or soul or something, I feel like it might be a little bit easier to connect on a more personal level with people.
Yeah.
And I'm just totally mulling this out with you. But when you're singing something that's like less instrumental, I think the connection can be a lot quicker. Whereas like with pop music, you're really, as much as it's about the vocal story, I think that it's a lot about like the feeling of it. You know what I mean? Which I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say with that?
Yeah, kind of like
Kind of.
so like there's certain songs that when I hear I think back to, the party that I was in high school, and not so,
Mm,
so the it's less about the meaning of the song and more about like, oh, it rekindles that memory. Is that kind of like?
yeah, totally. Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
agree with that for sure.
So
I think we all have those songs.
when you are writing your stuff, do you try and I feel like everyone tries to convey a message, but are you
Mm-hmm.
trying to capture a certain feeling for like that club or whatever? And like how do you try to translate that?
Like a song when it's written. So like depends on literally the mood that you're in when you're writing it. I mean, I write across the gamut. Like I can write just a really nice little acoustic song. It's really the production that brings it into a genre, I guess you could
Hmm.
say, because most of the time when you're writing music, like chording and stuff, it can be the same throughout all genres, just done differently. So a lot of the songs that I've written, sometimes I'll be in like a mood that I'm like, you know what, this song should be an acoustic song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in that, I'll be, ooh, I like this song. So maybe it's not for me, or maybe I will do an acoustic version because, like, I mean, I don't just do one thing. You know what I mean? As an
Right.
artist, and I'm sure you come across this a lot. Like, I do love to do like an acoustic song, and I do love to do, a dance like house track, like EDM track.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think when writing music, I start with a story. I start with just that as the main idea, not necessarily the production. And then it can become anything really after that. Just starts with chords and then attaching words to those. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. You made me think of, everybody knows Michael Jackson's Billie Jean, but Chris Cornell did a cover of it and turned it into this, like,
the best.
Oh, you know that song? Yeah, it's amazing.
Oh, yeah, it's so good. Well, Chris Cornell could sing like the Bible, and you just be like, oh,
yeah. But it's so like melancholy and sad, and I've like never thought about that song that way, and it just totally transformed the song.
Yeah, definitely, totally different message too. Like you just made it something totally different.
Yeah. So you're in Canada, right? Is it Toronto?
I am. Okay. I'm in Toronto. Yeah.
So how is it up there? We are. So I'm here in Mass, and we are 4 days away from being done. Our listeners can't see I'm doing air quotes with COVID.
Yeah.
And all our restrictions are going away. Like, are you?
Oh my gosh, you lucky people. That's amazing. I don't know. I know we could get on government shit, but like I don't know. I don't know what they're doing here. It's just craziness. Like nothing's been open. No restaurants have almost been closed for a year now here.
Oh wow.
They even shut down online streaming concerts. So like you're fucked that way.
Wait,
too,
what?
Which is insanity. Yeah, like it's the craziest thing ever. It's like so I don't know what they're thinking. It's like, do you think people are gonna hold like parties at live? This just takes away from the whole thing. Yeah, like
that's crazy. Really yeah, we did a few kind of live streams here to like help our musician friends who weren't able to perform, and like we had I don't want to say we had pushback. We had some questions asked, but like we were masked and 6 feet away, and the location was closed. But I can't imagine why you would shut down
live stream. Yeah, it really doesn't make sense. Nothing really has made sense, to be honest, but I mean, I don't know. I have no idea. They're saying like they're doing another announcement, but there's no, like, you guys, I watch Nashville and stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, that would be like an epic party right now. And I have friends in Miami and Utah, and everyone's like pretty much just living their lives normally. But yeah, not here. Like we're still like, very much the same as a year ago.
Well, I guess that cancels my next question about, did you have anything planned?
Well, actually, I have one thing really cool planned, and it's something that just shifted because of this. I don't know if you've ever heard of Avakin, or like on Sim. So Sims, like I think it's called Sims, right? Like game you play where you.
Oh yeah, Sims. Yeah.
So there is a basically the same type of thing. It's a Brazilian company though. It's called Avakin, and I've signed on. I'm actually doing a virtual concert. They have like 4 million subscribers, and I'm going to be doing a concert online, and they're designing an avatar for me. So I'm like, that's so neat. Like it's a different way to pivot. You know what I mean?
So is it? So there's no video? Is it just the avatar in the game, and then like you're singing live? Is that?
Yeah. So
that's so weird.
The neat thing about it is that there's no boundaries really. Like I could be like, yo, I want to like sing while I'm walking on a weird planet, and have people watch it, or you know what I mean? So it's been neat because we're just trying to figure out what that really looks like other than my character. And then people will see like banners in this other world and billboards of the day that I'm performing, and then they can like show up. So pretty neat.
That's really, that's something really different. And it's
definitely,
it fascinates me because I'm a kid that grew up on MTV, back in the heyday. And it really intrigues me on how people find like new music now. When I was a kid, you would just watch MTV, and MTV would like feed you what's new. But it's so different now, and that's a really weird, different kind of thing.
Yeah, it's definitely different. And I'm pretty excited about it. I think it'll be neat. I'm hoping by the end of this year, though, I'll be doing maybe a little tour through Korea, actually.
Oh, wow.
And that would be neat. Yeah. I've been actually releasing, well, I have a label down there that's been releasing some of my music that isn't even available in the States or Canada. So it's pretty neat. It's like a lot of things have been happening, obviously, online, and it's just been year transitioning and pivoting and seeing what works and what doesn't. I don't know. Try to find a way to survive, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Have you toured abroad before?
I haven't toured abroad with my music. I'm really excited to do that because that's definitely very much around the corner. This year, we were supposed to be doing some festivals and stuff, but obviously they all got canceled. I had 64 dates this year that were canceled. Yeah. Last year actually was neat. They tried to do the drive-in concert thing here in Canada.
Yeah.
And I did a few of those, which were okay. But I mean, to have people like sit in their cars and like in the, especially hot, like people don't want to do that. It was just a hard like draw, I think, you know?
But, yeah, we have a couple drive-ins. We have a new one that's popping up that they're talking about sometime in the future doing concerts, but I think they want to be able to do them and not have people restricted to their cars, just to have concerts. But there's a great it's a band rehearsal space that now has a concert hall in it. They just expanded to a larger concert hall and a recording studio in there. It's a really, really cool space, but they were doing outdoor shows last summer, and they started them this year. I went and saw one April 2nd, and I froze my ass off.
Oh no.
But I was so happy to see live music. And
yeah, you guys kind of have Canadian weather, right? Kind of.
Yeah. We're not too far off. It was April 2nd, and it was probably slightly over freezing.
Freezing, yeah.
But it was weird because you don't buy a ticket, you buy a table's worth of tickets, and you have to sit with the people you came with, and you can't like get up and walk around. And so you're seeing like these rock bands, and everyone's seated. It's just such a weird experience.
Yeah, I can't wait for it to be over. I'm just so excited to just like go and bump sweat with people. You know what I mean? Like just be like, hey buddy, like high five,
High
like,
fives and hugs and
and high fives and like sweaty kisses and like, yeah, I'm in.
So you said it sounds like you're touring Korea. Is that like and again, I'm gonna show my age. I know that K-pop is like a big thing, but I don't really understand. Is that
K-pop's big.
Like
literally it's just music. Like I mean I feel like everything over there is a little bit more like elevated. Like their sound choices are different, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
From North American culture, but yeah, it's cool. Like they're it's definitely a different industry down there. And it's funny, I've actually been told, I think that the whole, when you're from the States or in Canada, people think that like you go over to like Korea or something, like all of a sudden, like you're a star, you know what I mean? Like there's that whole like, oh, you don't know, you're going to blow up overnight. And it's so funny because I love this woman's honesty. I can't think of her name at the moment. We're talking ability of doing like a 2-week tour. And she was like, don't think you're going to come over here and like just blow up because like it doesn't happen anymore. She's like, this market's so saturated. There's so many people. And I'm like, that's cool. It's cool. Like, I'm fine with that. She's like, but everyone's going to tell you that they love you because it's the only thing that they really know how to say in English. And they're like, so you're going to, yes, which is so cute. Cause she was like, so when they come up to you at the show, they're going to be like, I love you. Like, I love you. And you're going to feel like a super big celebrity.
Yeah.
But just so you know, they don't really love you that much.
Oh, shit. I'm going to go to Korea because that, little ego boost never hurt, right?
Why not? Right. Yeah. That's what I thought too. I thought it was really funny.
It's funny. Our podcast, the country with the second most downloads, obviously we get download most in the States, but is India.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm always like, and I'm always joking. I'm like, oh, we're huge in India. And I'm like, I don't understand why. My buddy goes, the amount of downloads we get is like half of a percent of the population. And he's like, there's just so many people there. He's like, you can't not get downloaded. I'm like, oh, well, now you ruined it. He's like, I thought it was, I was planning my trip
true.
and
Aw. He's like, I'm gonna go over there and get off the plane. They're gonna be like, Andy, just call him. Look at this man. Like,
I love you. Yeah.
Yeah. I love it.
But then I don't even get that here. So, whatever.
Whatever.
So have you been writing a lot this past year where things have been kind of shut down or like myself, I found it really hard to create stuff this year. Just, I didn't have the motivation.
Yeah, no, I've actually kind of just been on like speed when it comes to like everything in the music world this year. And, it's been awesome. I can't, that's for sure. Like I actually got signed to a label this during COVID, which doesn't really happen that much, I don't think.
Yeah.
And it gave me to just really like focus on it. So studio's there for me. I can go in, we do tests all the time. Everyone follows the protocol, but like we literally go in and we just plan, and just been planning releases and continuously collabing with different producers, some even around the world. I did a collab with these guys in the Netherlands. Mm-hmm. So I've been working and like all kind of everywhere. So it's been really good. Writing as well. I mean, but I have like a huge catalog of music and just literally trying to get as much of it out as possible without like sick of me. I just, I have so much stuff. I'm just going to switch for a second.
Sure.
I can still hear you.
Oh, wow. You're actually coming through clear now.
Oh, wait. Maybe not. Hold on.
You can't hear me? Okay.
Now can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yay. Okay,
yeah.
Good. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. But I mean, that's one of those things where I think where we've all pivoted in COVID with the technology. Before, I was always like, no, I hate doing online, podcasts. They never sound great. And when COVID hit, we didn't have a choice. And we've been able to talk to, we've talked to musicians in New Zealand and Denmark and all over the States and, like yourself in Canada. And it's just been so cool. And I'm like, why was I so hesitant,
So true. I think, I'm the same way. I really was like anti-Zoom call. Like, I'm like, Skype, like, nah, screw that shit.
Yeah.
I think that when you're a social person and you seem like a very, like, you're in your community all the time and you're active in that. This is just strange. Right. But definitely the cool thing is the global reach with it, because we're like able to do all those things, right? Talk to the people. And I find, and I don't know if you found this, Andy, but people are more open to actually talking to a lot more people.
Oh, for sure. Especially early in COVID, we would do like the podcast recording and then I'd kind of stop. And there are some people that I hung out and chit-chatted with for like 45 minutes to an hour just because they're like, oh my God, another person that I don't live with that I get to talk to. It was kind of like refreshing just to get to meet and talk to people, because you obviously sound like a very social person. I am a very social person, and that's like something that really missed last year.
Me too. And still missing. You guys have restaurants open. I hate to go back to it, but
we are pretty much, like I said, we're 4 days away from all COVID restrictions being lifted. So there's no social distancing, no masks.
That's so cool. There is a world.
It's gonna be weird, man. Like, I went up to New Hampshire. Was it last weekend? It was last weekend, and they had already lifted restrictions, but like every business was kind of doing their own thing. Like, you still had to wear a mask to go into certain businesses. They're like, if you're coming in here, you're gonna wear a mask.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
I wonder how long that's gonna last. Like, I have a feeling people are gonna be like just so over it. Like, yeah, sorry, dude. Like, I'll go somewhere else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's interesting, but I feel like I feel like it's going to be years before you stop seeing masks on the regular. I think people are still really gun shy and concerned, and I think people are going to do it. And I've even talked to friends who, work in fields where they're like work in very close proximity. I'm going to screw up. An anesthetician. I think that's how it's said.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Who she's like, well, I work so close to people. She's like, I'm never not going to wear a mask again when I'm working on someone. She's like, the amount of days that I got sick just from being close to a sick person. And she's like, and I can wear a mask and that's not going to happen. And she's like, I won't wear it all the time, but when I'm that close, yeah.
Yeah, like I can understand it if like you felt like the person was ill. Like, yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that like, and it is factual, like as humans, like we need to like our bodies fight off things. You know what I mean?
Sure,
like,
yeah.
100%. Like, so I think that, to each his own. I mean, that's a touchy subject.
Yeah. Especially, in the States here, people get very angry.
Yeah. Here in Canada too.
Really?
Yeah. It's been a hard one. I mean, I've always been like pro-choice on everything. Like, if you want the vaccine, awesome. If you don't, I mean, I never like when a government tries to cram anything down anybody's throats. But I actually went and got mine a week ago, I guess you could say. And I was super hesitant. Like I was one of the really I kept feeling like, if we're going to travel, I guess it has to happen. You know what I mean? And I did feel like I actually had regret. I'm not going to lie. I walked away.
Really?
From it. Yeah, I had huge regret. I walked away and I was like, I feel like I did something wrong. I didn't feel happy. I felt sad because I've just always like, I've never even had a flu shot in my life. Like I've pretty much, I think that I had COVID a year ago. Yeah. So I was like, if I already have the antibodies, I want them to kind of be able to play for themselves, but I got it.
I was so on the other side. I'm like, sign me up first day. I'm there. I ended up driving into Boston just so I could get it, which was kind of a pain in the ass, but
that's a long drive. No, I know all different, all edges of it. Like I have friends that are literally like botanists that are like, no, like, and like totally no. But I was on the fence and I did because my mom went and did it. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'll just follow suit. I really want to travel. So
yeah. Did you do the 1 or 2 shots?
1 so far.
One. And that's the other interesting thing is so many people are like, oh, I got really sick. I felt fine. Like
that's good.
Almost to the point where I'm like, that wasn't a dream, right? Like that happened. I
think my arm was this. I was sore, but other than that, I was a little bit lethargic, but nothing I couldn't handle.
So when things do open up and you start touring, other than Korea, are you looking to launch a new album? Did you just put out a new one? I just
put out a new single. Yeah. So the music video just went live on Friday. And it's really cool. Like, I don't know if you're like much into sci-fi, but, I did a lot of like throwbacks to like
Come on, look at me. I am such a sci-fi guy.
Yeah.
And I love the Fifth Element. Fifth Element's one of my favorites.
I'm something people should check out if they love like that kind of. I did like the Lilu outfit, and it's a very like it's a hot video. I loved it. It was so much fun to do. And the song was super dancey and fun. So that just came out. I'm going to be launching an EP in July. So that's that. And then a single beginning of July, EP end of July. So right now we're on a release schedule. So things are just releasing gradually.
Now you said you have a ton of stuff kind of like, I don't know if ready to go, but you said you have a library of music. Is there like pressure to, I keep going back to like when I was a kid, but when I was a kid, like a band would come out, a really prolific band would put out like 1 album a year. But like, do you feel that kind of push to, put out something every couple of months just to stay relevant where, so many things are fighting for our attention now?
Yeah, it's so true. I could release every month. I feel like to give like a song, like it's kind of chance to just kind of like live in its own space. Like 2 months is nice because generally like you'll release the song, you'll release a music video 2 weeks after just to kind of give it new life and also to introduce another element or another way that they can do this. So at 6 weeks, another 2 weeks, you got more PR. So generally 2 months kind of works for that. I'll tell you what, though, I generally, by the time I release a song, I'm so done listening to it. I'm just like, oh crap. Like, cause like, I write it and then I record it. And then it's like sometimes 6 months before it's actually out. Some of my songs, it's going to be almost a year that I've been waiting for them to come out. Mm-hmm. And I outwrote them, they were very relevant in that time when I wrote them and produced them. And then all of a sudden it's like, do I even like this song anymore? Like I've heard it so long, and then I'll get new ears on it and they love it. I'm just, it's weird. I feel like any artist like paints a painting and leaves it for a year. They're going to go back to be like, like I should have like changed that, or like that mountain needs to look like this, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, and you listen to it and you're like, okay, the bass comes in a little early there, and then they change it and you're like, well, maybe I liked it better the first time, and then it gets to the point where almost none of it makes any sense.
Yep, I've literally come to that point on like a few of my songs recently where I'm just like, oh, I think I went too far.
So is there a way that when I'm drawing something or painting something and I want to kind of get that fresh look, I will take out my cell phone and I'll take a picture of it, and then I'll look at the picture, and there's something about that little bit of disconnect that makes me look at it different. Is there a music way that you can do that? Like, where you go have a couple drinks and then come back and listen to it, or
I mean, any like listening device, like to switch listening devices helps, because if you're listening to something in your earphones, like it's super like it's so private and like closed off, I guess you could say. Mm-hmm. Once like you put it on like a little like JBL or something like that, and you're listening to it that way, it'll sound different. And then go to a car, it's kind of like where you get your best bang, and you're like, okay, this is where it should sound the best. Anyway, that's most of my listening, because I can be the most critical. Also, I find, and like, I'm sure that you probably also can understand this, but like, if I have a room full of people, I get really like, are they going to like it? And if I listen to them and listen to it with them, and they're like also enjoying it, and then I can be like, oh, like this, it is good. Like how do I explain that? If I can say that I really love my song in a room full of people, I feel like it's ready, but it's hard. It's always hard to, no matter what it is. I don't know. Yeah. But music's just one of those ones. It's like a little personal, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I think any creative thing is personal, because
totally,
it's putting out a piece of yourself for, someone else to judge, really.
Yeah.
Now, if that room full of people, is there people that, like, there's people that I can show drawings to or whatever, and they're just gonna be like, oh, that's great. Yeah. And then there's other people, my daughter is one specifically who I can show something to, and she'll be like, the proportions on that arm are wrong. And I'll have to look at it again and be like, son of a bitch. But it's like, that's really good. Like, I want that kind of feedback. Do you have those people, that you can bring it to who not say it to be hurtful, but they're not going to spare your feeling and just be like, this is, this needs to be louder, or this mix is wrong, or whatever.
Definitely. I've got like a lot of those people. And I always like to say, though, too, like, I mean, opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one. So like, you need to love it first. You know what I mean? Like, in that sense.
Oh, so you're missing part of that saying, though.
Okay, what's the rest
opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one, and yours stinks.
I like that one too.
Yeah.
And it's about when you're to all different opinionated people, or they want to be heard the loudest in the room sometimes, or whatever. Like, it can get really frustrating because it becomes not about what you're showing them, and becomes about their ego. Like, that's another one of the sides of it. However, my partner Rob, he's like my biggest support system ever. He can listen to something and he can dial right into what he thinks could be, the best part, or the part that's off to him, and I always trust him in his judgments. And I'll always literally go right back to the studio and be like, let's relook at that again. Also, coming through the last year, when communication's been humans, I have a lot of friends that are in different genres even in the music industry, but also our artists. So they understand that, when you're trying to break through barriers, I'm not trying to assimilate with a sound. I'm trying to be my own, right? So they can get that. And a lot of the times they give great advice as well. And my brother's actually a producer too. He's always the one that will criticize the mix.
Of course, especially if they're your sibling, they're not going to be super nice about it either.
No, it can be a little blunt sometimes. But
and I feel like that's one of those challenges too, where you get that input and you're trying to make your thing. So you want it to be as good as possible and you want the feedback, but in the same aspect, you don't want to, and you don't want it to end up sounding or looking like someone else's style. So they may be like, oh, well, this needs to be this way. But then you have to make that determination. Like, is that better or is it just not my style? Yeah,
totally. Yeah, it's a hard one. I mean, I think like artists were always ever changing too. Like with whether or not we know it or not, we're being like, we're things are that do us and then they come out in our work, but like you don't really, you know what I mean by that. So yeah, I mean, it's just, and I'm like a chameleon, literally. I'll do an EDM song and then I'll do a pop song and who knows what's next.
Metal album.
Totally. I'm gonna go, you're raging, hey Andy, and you're like, what happened to Dan?
Nice. Do you ever worry that, and like that kind of goes back to that style thing? Do you ever worry that if you did something like that, you would lose some of your following or some of your fan base?
I think that in this, so when I think about it, this is probably the best way to put it. When you look at Lady Gaga, she really spent a long time, and I just use her because we talked about her earlier.
Right.
When you look at Lady Gaga, she really she came on strong as this artistic, very out there artist. And she stayed in that lane for like a while until she hits us with like an acoustic album or something that's totally different. But I think in order to really, to get a fan base that's loyal and knows what's coming, I mean, I think that's really the key to getting fans is like they come next. Oh, she's gonna have like the best pop song next. You know what I mean? Right. So I think you need to have like some kind of like brand really to market yourself with at the beginning. And then I think it's kind of whatever, like once you get that, that level of success that you're hoping for or aiming for, then maybe that's easier to make that switch. I think early in the game, it would be a little bit more difficult.
Yeah. So do you think a lot about like what the Dani Doucette brand is and like the image, and when you're doing videos, are you like, okay, this is like, it has to be true to what, I don't want to say what we're trying to sell, but like what we're trying to put, I mean, it is a business after all.
Yeah, 100%. Like I have a lot of experience in the fashion industry. So growing up, like I was in the fashion world, I guess you could say. And it's funny because like, and I'm just literally thinking to myself, I just had an interview with somebody like a week ago, I guess, and it just came out on the weekend. And the line of questioning was very much like, so you're a model and now you're showing yourself as an artist. And I was like, whoa. Like, unfortunately, it caught me at like 7 a.m. and I would have probably been like, I don't know if you understand this or not, but when you look at any successful artist, they are multidimensional, right? So when I think of a brand, I'm always thinking about every aspect of it, like from the visuals part to it to, what my show is going to really look like, the EPK, that's going to be really exciting with, what kind of lighting systems, the colors that are used all the time. I'm like a really high energy person. I don't know if you've sensed that yet.
Yeah, a little bit.
but yeah, like I really like, I try to carry that through on everything that I do. I'm really like, I am a very, what's the word? I'm really comfortable within myself. I've done a lot of years of growing. And when I say fashion, like being in a modeling world is probably the worst thing for anyone's like psychological, being. And having come through that and going through this, like there's literally like, it builds a great basis for, it built a good base for me, because I was like, okay, cool, I can literally do anything and I'm ready to do this. And so yeah, like for branding and stuff, I think about it daily, and I think about it for every new video. There's a but the core of it all stays the same. Like I love fashion in what I do. I love showing all parts of myself in my music. I'm creating the Daniverse.
The Daniverse? Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. But I really loved what you were saying, like about that interview and asking me like, oh, well, you're a model and now you're singing kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of was the basis for this podcast is every creative person, no matter what field they're in, are kind of all the same. We're kind of cut from the same cloth. We very similar. So to jump from, we've had, one of my favorite interviews, I got to interview Uli John Roth, who was the original guitarist for the Scorpions.
Cool.
And
oh my God, one of my favorite hair bands ever.
Yeah, right. And talking to him, you obviously you start asking him about like music and whatever, and he's like, shouldn't we talk about art? And I'm like, what? He's like, let's talk about art. I'm like, yeah, let's talk about whatever. And he was going to be a painter and then became a musician. And so I don't really feel like a creative person typically does one creative thing. They usually have, a lot of different things they're interested in. Yeah.
And I'm really glad that like literally our interview didn't follow that way, because when he asked like 7 in the morning, off guard, that I was just like, I wanted to be like, yo, like, I mean, there are so many different parts to me, as there are to most people. Mm-hmm. I'm like, to say that I just all of a sudden just jumped into music is kind of like selling me short in a way, because nor do you know what things I've been working on in the dark. Like my entire life, I've been a musical person. I've been writing music my whole life. It's just right now people are getting to see it. Right. Mm-hmm. So it's just kind of this funny thing. I was like, I left the interview feeling like, oh, like that was I don't know. It was just weird.
Yeah, no, I get it. Like most people think of me as a visual artist, but like, in high school I was class musician and I was in drama. So it's like, it's creative things that I think attract creative people, and it's not necessarily one thing. And if you're like me, you tend to jump from thing to thing because you're kind of scatterbrained and like to figure out new things. And
honestly, like growing up, my mom would be like, Dani, how many hands in different pies are you gonna have? Because it was like literally like, I want to do this, but I would do them. It wouldn't be just like talk about it. It'd be like, no, anything creative. It was like I was there, you know what I mean? And I love expressing myself through any outlet that's creative. So
and I mean, even like she's come up a bunch of times with Lady Gaga, like made the transition to acting, and like no one questioned that.
Oh my God. After my people that follow me were like, Dani, don't even try to get into acting. Like, how dare you? Right?
See, I would immediately be like, that's it. I'm going out for it now. Yeah. Don't tell me not to do something.
It was said as a joke, right? Yeah. So I was like laughing with them. I'm like, yeah, so true, right? Like, oh my God. But
I mean, is there a creative field that you either like to do as a hobby or you have interest in, stand-up comedy or cooking or like?
Yeah, that's funny. I actually been thinking about doing like voiceovers for like audiobooks and stuff like that.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think it'd be really fun. And I mean, I've always been voice. I don't know if it happened. But yeah, I don't know. Those are things I'd definitely be interested in.
Yeah. It's funny. Like I have a lot of, I'm a bit of a nerd and I have nerdy friends and who are always like, oh, this voice actor. And I was kind of always like, a voice actor, come on, it's not real acting. Mm-hmm. And then a friend of mine got me into this streaming show that's been on, I think like 5 or 6 years now. And it's voice actors playing Dungeons and Dragons. And it is amazing. Like it is, it's improv acting. It's phenomenal. And it just kind of like, I'm sorry?
Is it like when you see like yeah, or when I love those videos where you see like dogs or whatever, or like I think what you're saying, like characters that aren't saying what they're saying, but like people are voice acting over them, like making a conversation. And you're just like, this is the funniest shit I've ever seen.
Yeah, no, this is literally them sitting at a table playing a game, but they kind of take on their character. And
cool.
Yeah, and it's funny and it's dramatic. They just kill it, and it just kind of made me rethink, different creative field that I kind of never like really paid attention to.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's really fun.
So, where can our listeners go to find to become part of the Daniverse?
Yeah. Well, Daniverse, you can go find me on DaniDoucetteMusic.com. Mm-hmm. That's really easy because all of the links are there, all the songs are there, and it's easy to find your way around. That's a great one. I always tell people that following an artist is free. So your support's free, which is awesome. And you can do that by subscribing to YouTube channel, Dani Doucette. Dani Doucette on Spotify or any of those streaming platforms. You'll find me there as well. And yeah, costs nothing, and you can listen to my shit for free.
They can even share it for free. That's
exactly. I know. If you like it, share it. You know what? And that's the crazy thing. Like today, like I did get like have CDs and stuff growing up, and like we'd like toss around CDs, burn CDs, and it was like awesome. You know what I mean? Like you'd be like, oh, found this great song, listening to this artist, and you share it with your friend. The shareability of music now, like it still is easy, but it's just different. And, by posting like a link to your story or those types of things, there's just an easy way to say that thank you, just like you would if you're, I guess, but, but it's just, it's just shareability is different now, but you can still share music.
Yeah. I saw a really cool post from a friend of mine the other day, and it was kind of along that same line, and then he's like, comment with a link of something I should listen to.
Cool.
And it's just and I'm like, that's a really cool idea to find new music. It's like, it's kind of challenging to just stumble across new stuff, and then so everyone kind of like posted on there, and then it kind of becomes like, well, I want to post something cool, but something cool that he's not probably going to see, or that someone else isn't. Everyone likes to have that cool band in their back pocket that they can bust out and be like, I listened to this, and everyone's like, I've never heard of them.
Yeah, definitely. I used to listen to, do you remember, I don't know if you're familiar with a South African group called Inebri-art.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. So like my partner and I were so like loving them before they really hit it big time. And we went to like 5 of their concerts. Also Royal Bloods, saw them at a small little theater. I don't know if you're familiar, but
Bloods. Nope. Writing that one down.
Oh dude, you're going to love it. It's a 2-piece and these guys rock.
Nice. Bloods.
Check out the first album. Yeah.
Cool. All right. See, that was going to be my next question. It's like, what's like your bands so although I'm going to make a recommendation for you, and if I'm sure our listeners have heard me go on about them, but so there's a hardcore band out of LA, I think, and they're called the Bronx. And one day their guitarist showed up and said, hey man, I want to make a mariachi album. And they're like, cool, let's do that. So they made a new band called Mariachi El Bronx.
Oh,
and it's amazing.
Amazing.
It's so good. It's mariachi music, but it's really, really good.
Oh, that sounds dope. Okay, I'll definitely check that. So and then I'll prep some margaritas too.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, I got a tip for that too. So, I had this date on Cinco de Mayo, and we took a cooking class together, and we made margaritas. And in the cooking class, you took half kosher salt, half sugar for the rim, and then you put chili powder and lime zest and mixed it all together. It's top notch.
That sounds top notch. And I'll up your margarita.
Okay.
Have you ever had 1800 coconut tequila?
I have not. I've had 1800, but I have not had coconut.
So I'm always like, I'm a big Reposado fan.
Yep.
That is the bomb. And when you put it in a margarita, it's so good.
I'm going to have to check that out too.
Mm-hmm. Most def.
Outstanding. So thank you for joining us on the show. It was a lot of fun. And again, I apologize for being late because I'm stupid and put down the wrong time. And hopefully our listeners will not be late and listen to us every week. And we'll talk to you guys again next week.
Cool.
Thanks for listening to today's podcast. You can find us on all social medias at Inebri-art or on Instagram at Inebri-art6. You can email us at Inebri-art@yahoo.com. And make sure you listen to the other podcasts on the Inebri-art Podcast Network, including Bar Talk, Old Colony Cast, Retro Redoctopus, America's Hometown Horror Podcast, and our newest one, Theme Park Legends, a podcast about working at theme parks. What else? And we'll catch you again next time.